All right, so it's go time. It's time to make some money, right? Which is awesome. You're at a point where your skill is good enough to go out and get work and get paid. I don't know what the situation is. Maybe you got fired or you quit, or you're like really excited about starting your own venture. You're 100% on your own. Maybe you're doing this part-time after work, or maybe you're just an employee that just wants to learn how to maybe leverage some of your skills to get a promotion. It'll work either way. All right. So this is what you're going to do. You are going to try to find a solution to a specific problem. You're going to use your skill to solve a problem for a client or for a group of people, right? Which means, like, for example, if someone has a wedding and you do photography, then you're going to provide a wedding photography service, right? That's very easy to understand. People get that, right? But let me put a little spin to it. You may have to use your skill in a different way than you were trained or you were like expecting, because the way people may want to use your service might be different than how you were trained, right? Is there training for wedding photography? Well, not so much, but there is training for photography, and it's kind of up to you to figure out how to make that skill into a wedding photography situation or a landscape photography situation or an event photography. You get what I mean? You may have to like bend your skill a little bit so it is now in line with what people want. You're there to provide a solution, and that's why people give you money, right? So it's a 3-step process to this. You're going to provide a solution to your clients. You're going to deliver it and explain it in a way where they don't have to think. Very important. And then you're also going to tell them in one sentence or less why you're different. What makes you special, okay? If you do those 3 things, it'll be a lot easier to make money with it. Again, solve a very specific problem for your client, do it in a way where they don't have to do a whole bunch of thinking, and then tell them why you're different, okay? All right, so specific solution. When you're just starting, you may not have a specific skill set, right? So for me, it was videography, right? Videography is like you go out with a camera, you have lights, and you have a microphone, right? But what am I filming? Am I filming an event? Am I filming a church? Am I filming a circus? You get what I'm saying? There's all these variables. And whoever wants to hire me wants to know that I've done this before. So they want to know that I'm experienced at providing that solution. And if my experience is all over the map, I may have been doing this for 5 years, but I may have only done like a handful of the thing that they're asking me to do, which means they're going to pass, right? So even though you may not know at the beginning what your specialty is, figure it out quick. The quicker you figure out what your focus is, what your niche is, what your specialty is, the easier it is to be able to get referral business, because people will say, hey, I know a wedding photographer. Other people who are getting married will refer you because they know you to be a wedding photographer, right? But if you're doing wedding photography and landscape photography and then event photography, and you're just doing all kinds of stuff, you have different pockets of people, different groups of people who all know you for different things. And it's really hard to move forward because you have this tree that's just branching out in too many directions, and no one knows what the tree is. What kind of tree is this? It's just all these different color, weird branches. There's different leaves on this branch than this branch, right? People need to see the whole tree and say, you are one thing. In the beginning, you don't know that. So you may just have to try a bunch of jobs, volunteer. I'm not a big fan of free work, but maybe do discounted work. Maybe see if you can work with someone else, trail them, shadow them, charge really low, be cheap, whatever. You get enough experience to understand, okay, I know I don't want to do this, but I'll do that. I want to get better at doing this specific skill, okay? And then get a whole bunch of certifications, go to workshops, read, really get good at that one specific skill. So now your day rate can increase. You have a library of work you can show them, a resume that's growing that you can show them. You have a list of references you can show them, all pointing to the fact that you are really good at solving this particular issue or this particular problem for these types of customers. Okay? Right? So what happens is you go from everyone paying, it's like a funnel. Everyone's paying you, a big group of people, and you're going to narrow it down to where you're only focused on one particular type of person that will use your service. Now, the downside is you're saying no to other people, but that's a good thing. You don't want to serve everybody because you can't, right? The jack of all trades thing is bad, okay? You do not want to be a jack of all trades. If you are broke and hungry and you need money, do what you got to do. But keep in mind, jack of all trades is not sustainable. Over time, your competitors will just beat you out, okay? All right, and you're always going to have to be cheap. You're always going to have to undercut somebody just to get the work, and that's not sustainable. All right, so the second part to this, you need to describe what you do in a way that people understand, right? So for example, let's say the wedding photography. There's a wedding, your photography, they understand it as wedding photography, right? So as long as you say, I'm a wedding photographer, they instantly understand what you do, right? That's good. Now, if they say, okay, well, now how do I hire you? Well, I mean, you could do this and you could do that, or you could sign this, you could sign that. Well, see, no, they're not going to hire you. You know why? You just made it complicated. You made them think. You need to provide your solution in a way that doesn't make them think, right? Tell them exactly how you're going to give them this service. All right, if you hire me, you're going to do this, this, this. I will do this, that, and that, and you'll have everything done in this time frame. Do they have to think? No. All they have to do is say yes or no. All right? It's extremely important that you do not make your customers think, right? They have to think of their jobs. They have to think with their kids. They have to think with every organization, everything like bills, all the stuff that they're trying to do. Don't give them a bunch of options about how they can use their service, right? They don't make them think about how to use your service, right? Don't present them a golden corral buffet of, okay, yeah, you can make any meal you want. You want some corn, you want some macaroni and cheese. No. You make the plate for them and say, here, eat this. This is what I provide, right? And they can look at the plate and say, yes or no, right? You don't give them a whole bunch of options and say, hey, just mix and match how you like. I can do everything. They won't hire you, okay? Or if they do, you introduce a lot of chance for misunderstanding, right? Because if you tell them all the things you could do, possibly, you give them a whole bunch of options, and then they choose what they think is what you're saying. Now they've hired you, they're going along, and they think you're going to do something. You're off on some other track, and when you deliver the product, they're like, wait a minute, I didn't ask for this. Like, yes, you did. You told me this. You gave me this combination. And now you have a customer that is dissatisfied because they had a different impression of what you did. And because you gave them so many options, they kind of made some assumptions, right? That's why you can't allow them to build their own plate, right? Make their plate for them and say, do you want steak with mashed potatoes and green beans? Okay? This is what we give. This is what we specialize in. What about the macaroni and cheese? No. You didn't ask. No, we give this. Okay? This right here. All right. And I'll say a quick story about this. It's not funny. It's not funny at all, right? I work with a guy who had a problem closing clients. And so I sat in with him in one of his meetings, and everything was going smooth. We made a presentation plan, and we were right on track with those presentation points, the little bullet points. We had timed out in advance how long those sections were going to be in the presentation. Everything was going on time. When we get to the end, what should have taken 15 minutes turned into 45. And so I had to step out to get some presentation materials like the contracts and stuff. And I came back in, and this guy's still talking, and I'm listening to him, and he's just like going over all the potential options, all the potential services, all the potential combinations of services we could do. I think he was doing it in a way to show just how much knowledge he had. But what ended up happening is it was a couple who was there, and I'm looking at their eyes, and they're just like, they're in a daze. Like, they went from being excited, like, hey, let's do this, to, what? They thought they had an understanding of what was being presented to them. And the guy talked at the end so much that he realized, well, they thought, okay, well, obviously we don't understand. We need to go home. And so all of a sudden there's this, it went from excitement to let's do this to we need time to digest all of this stuff. And then they walk out the door and I looked at the guy and I'm like, hey, what happened? We had a plan. You were supposed to talk to about 15 minutes and close the deal. He's like, well, they asked questions. I'm like, that's fine, but you don't go from 15 to 45. You gave them 9 options. We had narrowed it down to 1, right? That was the whole point. This was the closer. And you get what I'm saying? If you make people think, they're going to feel like they need time to digest what you're saying. So you don't want to give them a whole bunch of options, right? You're solving a problem, yes, but you need to explain it in a way that they don't have to think. Okay? In the case of a wedding photographer, it makes sense. I do wedding photography. I don't have to think. You see how that works? But if you provide some type of other service that may be more complicated, you may have to explain it, because it might be a complex service. You may do data programming. You might make custom apps. It doesn't matter. But you need to explain it in a way that they understand, right? Because you know what you do. You know how you talk to your peers in the industry and the insiders. Do not bring insider talk to the client. Tell them what you do in a very client-friendly way and keep it short, okay? The last part you want to do is tell them what you do in a sentence or less and tell them why you're different, all right? This is very close to kind of what I was saying, that it needs to be understandable. Do not make them think, right? So when you're pitching yourself, and I don't mean an elevator pitch. I don't want to go into that type of marketing speak. But just understand, you're talking to human beings. You're talking to people just like you and me, and we don't have time to process a lot of stuff, right? You get what I'm saying? Like, try to think about it from the things you eat every day, the things you experience every day, where you go to lunch. Why do you go to lunch there, right? Why do you go to Chipotle? Okay, it's the burrito place. I want a burrito. I go to Chipotle, right? Why do you go to Chipotle versus Moe's? Well, Chipotle they have fresh ingredients, right? Is it really fresher? No, but they've done a very good job of letting you think that it's a lot fresher. It's a lot more organic, healthy, like custom made, fresh, right? That's their whole thing. And that's why you go, because you want fresh. And not that Moe's isn't fresh. It's just that's not the experience you get at Chipotle. You get what I'm saying? So if I had a choice, it's easier for me to say Chipotle is fresh, organic, Whole Foods, that Sprouts kind of customer, versus Moe's, I need something quick, more like McDonald's, more like, whatever. You get what I'm saying? You want to have kind of the same thing with your client, right? Explain what makes you different, right? So if you are a wedding photographer, if you say, okay, I do wedding photography, great. If you leave it at that, understand that there's 1,000 people who do wedding photography, probably in your area. So you're going to need to figure out, what can you say that makes you special? How do you communicate that in a very quick way? So for example, you could say, I'm a wedding photographer that specializes in destination weddings. Oh, that's interesting, right? See, now as a customer, I'm like, whoa, you specialize in like destination weddings? Like, what does that even look like? Can you show me pictures? Now I'm curious as a client. And once you show me all these pictures of all these exotic lands and all these things, and like maybe someone's on top of a volcano proposing, like if it's like really cool, maybe the client wasn't even thinking about doing a destination wedding, but they saw your pictures and they're like, yeah, I want to be on a volcano. This is amazing, right? Don't do that. But anyway, my point is, if you could show them something that they haven't thought and show them how you're special, they actually might change their plans to do what you provide, because what you're showing them is so amazing and awesome. You get what I'm saying? You explained to them what you do, what you did, but you also told them why you were different. And that is the key, right? So let's kind of wrap this thing up because I don't want this to go forever, right? Number one, you need to provide a very specific solution and get good at providing that solution. Get good at the service that solves the problem, okay? Two, deliver your service and explain your service in a way that does not make them think. Do not give them a million options. Cater your service down to like a very simple, digestible thing to when they see it. At most complex, it's good, better, best. You get what I'm saying? Good, better, best. 3 choices max. Do not give them the option to figure out how to use your service. You tell them how to use your service. And then lastly, you tell them what you do in a sentence or less. Again, simple, but you tell them why you're different, what makes you special. And if you can kind of condense it into those 3 things, it'll be easier for you, 1, to get customers, 2, for them to understand exactly what you do, 3, they'll be happy because what they expect will be exactly what you deliver, and then 4, you're actually going to get better at building that portfolio of that specific problem, right? Or solving that specific problem, right? Now, I will address quickly, what about all the other jobs that could come in? I'll have to say no to all these other things that come in that might bring me money. Yes, and that is a good thing. You want to be as specialized as possible as long as it's profitable, right? That's all it is. So keep that in mind. I wanted to throw that to you really quick. Again, it's not quick at all. It's 16 minutes, but I wanted to give a kind of understanding of what to do and how to take this from I'm skilled at something into building something that can really make you a lot of money, or even just improve your standing at your job or whatever, right? Anyone can use this. Anyway, y'all have a good day. I'm in my car and I'm sweating. Bye.